I'd like to call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Showalter, Myers,
Here.
Howard,
Here.
Redland,
Here.
Thompson.
Here. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming out this evening. We are going to move on to a public hearing tonight. We have a public hearing regarding an unfit structure at 1523 Colorado Avenue. We will start this hearing at 5:01 p.m. Jeff, please come up to the podium.
Good evening. Brought this to your attention. Back in May, we started on the process. We set things up for a public hearing back in August for 11/21. We missed putting that on the agenda, so we had to reschedule that course for today. I did go out and take some new, photos this morning of the properties that we were talking about. Josh has got those. While we wait on the photos, Mr. Bull, Bull has cleaned up the area, made a lot of progress on the outside looks of it and so forth. They even had a neighbor comment last week that it's looking pretty good. So kudos to that on that. So the big thing is I know you guys were wanting the utilities and so forth hooked up to that. So as of today, he hasn't been able to, whether it's affording to do it, or what he's doing. So, any luck on
Okay.
this, Josh?
Well, I got it pulled up, it just won't display. Technology isn't
Okay, Mr. Bowl, do you have anything you wish to state since you're here?
I now have somebody that wants to go there and rent a place, and he has the equipment that I need to put the water lines in and do everything that I haven't been able to do. He's gonna help me haul that one trailer that's decrepit out of there. And he has talked about maybe putting another trailer there, like a brand new one. I don't know if that's for sure or not. I've just started talking to him, but he's an old customer of mine from Oakley. I've known him for a lot of years, but I can finish the things I haven't been able to do with this guy's help. And he's got money he wants to pay off the property taxes that are past due and get the utilities all hooked up. I wasn't able to get a hold of him this afternoon. I was going to have him come up here with me, but that didn't work out. I have done the best I could with zero help and actually people working against me. I really just need just a little bit more time and I can finish the rest of it. I was hoping that somebody mentioned last time that maybe they could add on the cost of the putting a new water meter in, the installment fee or whatever, $1,500 to $3,000 they told me. Maybe that could be added to like property taxes, because I need to figure that out before I can lay the water lines that I need to lay.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I mean, it's been, since we first had these conversations, it's been 5 months. I do appreciate that you have spent a lot of time cleaning up the property. I mean, I feel like that's a conversation to even just find out what it is you need to do and where those costs can come from could have easily happened by now. Even if you didn't have the means to follow through at the time, you could have gotten the information you needed to find out what your cost might be to finish a project and how costs could be deferred if at all possible. But
So far, all I've had is, myself and time to work on things. I didn't have any possible finances until now. This guy, I really am confident with him that we should be able to clear everything up within a month, finish what I haven't been able to.
Okay, and you said you're just now starting conversations with this gentleman, right?
Well, I've known him for decades, but
But
just
regarding,
found out that he
regarding the
wanted to move
property.
here,
Yeah,
and he decided he liked the property and really wants to help me get it put back together. I really had hoped that he'd make it here today, but he had a previous appointment in Oakley, so he couldn't make it. He's a good guy. I've known him for a long time. I'm sure that he will be good to his word and help me finish what I started.
okay, great, thank you.
Just got a few of the photos.
Okay.
Just what we've taken today, so just kind of run through them. And that is the trailer that Mr. Bull's talking about taking off the property.
Okay, it does definitely look a lot better than the last time we saw it, as far as the outside looks anyway.
Trailer has been cleaned out a couple of times, but people keep breaking into it, and, I mean, they'll go through the wall, we went through the wall on the outside the last time, and they just made a hole, and went through, so people get in there and tear the hell out of it. I have not been able to keep people out of those trailers. So, that's one problem I've gotten real sick of.
As you can tell, between the trailers was the original photos, so yeah, he's made a lot of progress on that.
I just set all that stuff up in the middle there last night. Actually, it was all cleaned out. This is a little fire pit area. That spring is coming and it's warming up a little bit, and we like to hang out outside and talk, have fire.
And that's the trailer he's wanting to try and salvage and leave.
There are just a couple of, I've repaired some damages to the inside of the walls and leaks, but there's two spots on the roof that need to be repaired, and I figured I can use the roof panels from the other trailer to fix those. And then, except for a little bit of plumbing work and, you know, laying water lines themselves, but plumbing work inside the house, there's really not much of anything else that needs done to that trailer.
So it is structurally sound, short of roof issues and plumbing and stuff getting into it, you're saying?
Yeah, there's just a few spots in the roof that have leaked, and I've sealed them up before, but it just started leaking again, because all I did was that roof, snow roof stuff, sealed it. And I could do that again, and it would seal it for a couple of years, but I'd like to figure out how to properly fix it. So, and this guy, he does, plumbing and some construction work, and he has access to all the equipment, and anything that I don't have access to, he can give me, and he's already been helping. So, I'm really confident that, we can patch up that one and get the other one hauled out of there ASAP. And then, I'm finally done. I've been trying to clean the place up for years. Actually, I've done a massive amount of work in this place 10 years ago. There were dead trees all the way around it. There was all kinds of junk, and, you know, like I said before, my grandfather and my dad collected metal. There's 3.5 tons of metal in this shed, literally. And, you know, it took me a while, little by little, to get rid of all that stuff.
Well, I do appreciate the work that you have been doing there, for sure.
So when do you think you'll get the one trailer pulled out of there?
there's parts and stuff that I wanna take out, but there's a lady I talked to about, fixing up her bathroom, and I figured I could take some things out of the trailer we're getting rid of to do that for her, and he says we can do it immediately. He seems to be a busy guy though, but I'm sure within a couple of weeks, within, like I said, within a month, I'm sure we can take care of all the rest of the issues.
Okay. Is there any other comments regarding this property? Okay, then we will close this public hearing at 5:11 PM. Thank you. Okay, at this time, public comment. Anybody signed up for public comment? No, we have the consent agenda. We have A, 1/3/23 commission meeting minutes, and B, the appropriation ordinances 2023-02, 2023-02A, and 2023-P02. Anybody have any questions, comments, concerns regarding those?
I move that we approve the consent agenda items A and B.
I have a motion by Commissioner Redlin,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Howard. Any other further discussion? Roll, please.
Redlin,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Showalter, Thompson.
Yes. Okay, let's move on to 5, ordinances and resolutions, where we have a resolution regarding the unfit structure at 1523 Colorado Avenue that we had just discussed. Does anyone have any comments regarding this? Or thoughts?
Just confirm it's been 5 months since we began talking about that. That's correct, 5 months?
It was in August, yep. At middle of August is when we first discussed it here. And I will say, like I said, you have done a lot of work, and we do appreciate that. Yeah. And you have also in the public hearing portion, you did say that you think that you could get everything done in a month, right? So I will say, within this resolution, if we decide that we want to pass this resolution and consider it an unfit structure, it does say in there that you have 30 days to go in and make any repairs necessary to make it no longer an unfit structure. So if we were to pass this resolution, you still have time to get in there and finish what needs to get done before we then decide if it's necessary for us to go ahead and tear it down or not.
I'm confident that I can do it. The only thing I can foresee going wrong is him changing his mind, but, I mean, even if he would change his mind, you know, the only thing I could do is haul that out there myself, but I'm sure I could find somebody to, you know, else to do it, so.
You know, and even if 30 days comes and goes, and you can come in and you can show that you're at least most of the way there, or you're making significant headway towards what needs to be done, you know, we can still grant you more time to finish things up. But, you know, if the time passes and you come back in and you say, you know, I want to get this stuff done, I just haven't had a chance, and nothing has been done, you know, and then
Yeah.
I don't know,
That's
but
not gonna happen, that things will be done, and, yeah, I'm actually very happy to be getting closer to the end.
okay.
It's not something that just started with you guys, I really have been working on the whole place for 10 years. And it was a mess, it was a big job.
I just want to clarify with Mr. Bolts, like the utilities, you guys want the utilities ran to the property that you guys want to keep as well in that 30 days, or just get the structure sound?
I mean, I would like to see utility work done,
Okay.
you know.
Well, I've got all the water lines, I just need to know where they're gonna put the meter, and I can do my part of it. And then I've gotta work out the financing with the meter, and he said he'll pay for it, or, you know, work out however he has to. And he seems to be a guy that gets things done. I wasn't familiar with him other than
Well, I really hope it works out for you. I really hope it comes through for you, so. Anybody else have any comments?
I move that we approve resolution 1609.
I have a motion by Commissioner Redland,
Second.
a second by Commissioner Myers. Any other further discussion? Roll, please.
Myers,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Showalter, Redland,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes. All right, thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
I've been working my ass off all day.
Yep.
Sure.
Please,
Good.
Go ahead.
please, have a good evening.
Have a nice evening.
Yep, you do.
You.
Okay, let's move on to formal actions. We have, is it the NAS upgrade or NAS, the NAS upgrade?
Yes.
NAS sounds cooler.
Network attached storage. Is that what it is?
That sounds boring. I like NAS. Okay, please present for us.
Okay, so currently I'm using two desktop model network attached storage devices for our backup needs. They're two 8 terabyte drives, or each of them have a 4 terabyte drive and a mirror configuration which provides 4 terabytes. For context, our web server is 1 terabyte. So you'd get 4 backups and you're done. And that's just one of the many servers that we have to back up. The one I've proposed here, this is the model that I feel like gives us the best bang for the buck, best storage capacities, things of that nature. As far as cost, there's other brands available, but this is the one I settled on because the county has 2 or 3 of these in service right now that they use on a regular basis and don't have issues. So having that little bit of knowledge from them, really helps out knowing, hey, if something screws up, I have somebody I can go get a hold of on it. But I actually had more quotes than this. These are just the best 4. And these do not actually have to be purchased as a group item. We can go in and do load cost on all of them if we want. This is going to allow us to actually back up all of the servers. There's a few of them that we don't back up right now, just because they're not of critical importance and can be rebuilt fairly quickly, but it would just give us that ability to get everything backed up and all of our storages for quite some time. So, like I said, currently we're running about 40 terabytes of storage total across all devices. In the lowest configuration for this one, we'll be gaining 96. So it's a pretty big jump from what we're using now.
Yes, it is. So, reading through this, I have to say I wasn't exactly 100% clear what it is you're specifically asking for other than all this stuff.
Yeah.
Because there is bounce
Okay.
around a bunch of different
So-
places, not necessarily one big quote. It's multiple different things.
Yeah, so when you buy a NAS like this, you buy the enclosure, which contains the motherboard and, the actual operating system for the NAS device. And then you have to put your own drives in. You can buy them with drives in it, but they're usually like 1 terabyte drives or something really small. So when you get to the commercial grade NAS systems, you specify, I want these drives in. I want this amount of memory. So the 4th line on that list. The 3rd line on there is a rail kit. So that allows us to mount it inside of our rack along with the rest of our servers. So we're not putting it on a desk somewhere or anything like that. It's actually mounted in the rack with the servers and switches and everything else. Does that make more sense?
I mean, I knew what all the different parts were. I'm just saying that as far as a nice clean
Yeah.
quote, it's
So
Not
as far as the
super.
quotes, I mean, we can go with low quote per vendor. Again, to me, that part doesn't really matter because I quoted out the exact same thing. If we wanted to go with low price overall, it would effectively be, you know, 2 things from Amazon, 2 things from B&H. B&H having the drives and the enclosure itself, and then Amazon getting the rail kit and the memory. Being CDWG, if I remember correctly, did not actually have the rail kit in stock, and it was going to be like weeks out.
Is that your request, basically, Josh, is to be able to purchase the 2 things from B&H and 2 things from Amazon?
Yeah, that would be about the best way to do it, I think. Because ordering one thing from like CDW, they're going to end up charging freight on that one item,
mm,
which would put it up close enough to the rest of them that why bother?
so we're basically looking to get the enclosure and the hard drive from B&H and the rail kit and the memory from Amazon is what we're looking to do. Because even though Amazon isn't the lowest quote on the rail kit, it's $1.50 higher and it's available currently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know we like to pinch pennies and all, but
Does anybody else have any questions or comments or concerns here? And this is funding that you do have available. It's just following protocol to come ask to spend it. Well, I would make a motion to approve the NAS upgrade purchase with the enclosure and the hard drive from B&H and the rail kit and the memory upgrade from Amazon.
I'll second.
I have a second by Commissioner Redlin. Any other further discussion? Roll, please.
Howard,
Yes.
Bradley,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Showalter.
Yes. Thank you.
thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, we'll move on to discussion items, starting with the police department presentation regarding the accreditation process.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So we kind of wanted to give an update on this, on the accreditation process. More of just kind of explain what it entails. I mean, you could say accreditation process, but what is that? The first question that I asked when we were asked to start a beta testing is, what are the benefits? I mean, what does it do for our department, our city? They came up with 4 things. One, it improves agency metrics. Basically,
If I could, just real quick, accreditation through what? Let's
Okay.
start there.
it's the acronym is CLEAP, KLEAP. It's Kansas Law Enforcement Accreditation Program. It's through the state. It's different if you've ever heard of CALIA, which is a national accreditation. This is just for the state of Kansas.
Okay, thank you.
And it is sponsored by the academy, the Law Enforcement Training Center. So it's it will benefit us, and I'll go over a few things. But does that kind of answer?
Yep, I just wanted, just for clarification purposes, what exactly we're being accredited through.
Sure.
What it is for.
Yeah, and that's it's its own entity. It's just sponsored by the Kansas Law Enforcement Training Center.
Okay, great, thank you.
enhanced transparency and accountability. And I can read, I don't want to read all this, but professional excellence, and the main point that they're getting out is reduce lawsuits and insurance costs. So if for some reason we ever get sued, it will actually help us because of the standards that we're required to adhere to and make policies for. And Jason will kind of go through that a little bit more in depth. So it not only benefits our department, it benefits our community in the grand scheme of things, I guess you could say. So right now, I'll go ahead and turn this over to Jason and kind of let him go through the processes and stuff. So.
Great.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So, as he was talking about CLEAP, so it's basically a state agency accreditation. With that comes with about 20 chapters. Within those chapters is lots and lots of different accreditation standards we have to meet in order to meet the state. So with that, we did have some previous policies that the administration left. Wasn't a whole lot, but we had quite a few. So far, we're not even halfway through this. They gave us 2 years to get accredited, which is going to take every bit of that. And so far, we've revised 20 policies and the policy and procedures, and we've added 18 new policy and procedures. I look for that to be probably an additional 30 to 40 more policy and procedures, possibly. Under each accreditation standard, there is bullet points, and each bullet point you have to have specific in your policy. So it's a lot of policy procedure, and what happens with that is once I revise a policy or we add a new one, we send it to Jake. Jake reviews it. He looks at it. He sends, change this or it's good. So far, he hasn't asked for any changes. I don't believe so. So this has kind of been my life for the past since we started this, because this is a really big project. But also within that, there's the Kansas Accreditation Coalition, which is basically through the same CLEAP. I was named chair of that. So basically, this is just a resource to help other agencies and to help other people, where we can all reach out and help each other with questions or policies or things like that. So I was named chair of that, and so that actually, I can't speak a whole lot to that because our first meeting is not until February 2nd. So with that, I've also been accepted into assessor training, which is basically I'm going to learn how to go to a law enforcement agency and look at their stuff and go through the accreditation program or process to see if they're meeting the standards. Basically, they call them assessors. So I've also been accepted into that as well. But in regards to ours, we've had some really big policies we had to make as far as evidence. We did not have an evidence policy. That was took a very long time. We had to go through our evidence vault, and there were a lot of things we had to change and look over and correct. So that was one of the bigger policies. There was no policy for like authorized weapons and ammunition, less lethal munitions, electric control devices. All those things are very important. So we had to make all those, and those were pretty lengthy. So it's a very, very large project, and it will take every bit of probably 2 years, I would say. But we're pretty confident we have all the resources we need to get there. I think the biggest, like he said, the biggest thing out of this is the the lawsuits and the insurance costs, it's really gonna help us if we ever get into a pickle where we're getting sued civilly or whatever the case may be. As long as we're following those policies and we have an accredited agency backing us up saying they're accredited, it's really gonna, that does a lot.
Just for their education, a lot of what the, I'm gonna say us non-law enforcement people, what we think of as policies is not what they're talking about. Take them through basically what, you don't have to do it in detail, but then I explain to them what a law enforcement policy actually is, like we were talking about evidence. Explain to them really what does that mean. It's not just a, oh, our policy is we do not accept this type of MasterCard. It is an actual, like, you want to talk about a succession plan on steroids, I will tell you the policies that these guys have put together and what Jason has drafted and I reviewed. One, it'd be little to no changes to it, but two, the line of duty, it can happen. If anything was to happen and you lose both your chief and your assistant chief, they can pull out those policy books and every officer in your guys' department knows exactly what to do about darn near any situation. So, like, talk them through, just again, a snippet of what you guys' law enforcement policies are.
Well, some of them are very lengthy. The policy for the evidence, the one you speak of, was extremely lengthy. That takes you through found property. That takes the officers through how they do enter evidence. That takes records clerk how she enters evidence. That takes us through how we dispo evidence, how we dispo found property, how we have to weigh in. So if we have narcotics that come in, we have to weigh those. The officer weighs those, puts those in the temp lockers. Then the records clerk weighs those into the main evidence portion. On top of that, we have to have a high risk, through accreditation, you have to have a high risk evidence area, which is basically the evidence vault, and then you have another locked place where you put narcotics, currency, and guns. So you have to have a high risk storage as well. So this covers everything from guns, narcotics, anything that you could think of. If you watch Cops, I don't know if you do or not. Anything you could think of, it covers it. Use of force, same thing. I believe you all got the use of force analysis I put together. So I mean, everything within that is in policy. What we do, how we do it, what training we need. I recommended training, things like that. So they're very extensive. I think the evidence policy was 14 pages or 15. And then you have to have supplemental forms. I think I have six or so of those for entering evidence, found property, the temp locker, how we dispo property, because we have to do that us together, and we have to say, okay, this was thrown away, or this was destroyed, this was burned, whatever the case may be. So
it's basically a step-by-step process of every
Yes.
scenario that could happen is basically
yes.
what it's
and,
meant.
and that's just one policy. That's every single policy. That's weapons, ammunition. That's that's everything. Take-home cars. That's impound. Everything.
It even goes as far as like administrative duties like cash management. You know, of course, we don't have like pay cash or anything like that, but we do take in money. So we have to have a step-by-step of what I do with that money. Like you said, it's been very taxing because, you know, he's worked on it a lot more than I have, but I've had to do my share of it. And it's very detailed, it's very, like you said, step-by-step. And it gives us, as a department, standards to go by. So now we are all held at an even higher standard than what we were before. It's like Jake said, it's not, we won't accept checks anymore. It's so detailed. And I believe, did you send them the standards? Yeah, if you've read, I know you could, it's a boring read, I'm not going to lie, but if you kind of gazed over it or just kind of glanced at it, you can tell it's not just something you throw together.
Now, I opened it up and glazed over pretty quick, yeah.
Well,
The beauty of that is it's not just, you know, in the office, in-house, in the evidence room, in the impound room. It also has policies that cover the officers actually out there in the field and doing that stuff. To you, my personal opinion, you know, I have benefit, I get to read these guys' reports, I get to do all that stuff, and I say I get to. It's not always fun, it's not always good situations, but I get to read the reports because I can follow the story, and I can see what's going on. The beauty of their policies, is I can read that policy, and I can see exactly what's going to be going through that officer's mind, and what he's looking for, or she's looking for, or what's happening, and they follow that. Like I said, there's a lot of times, again, part of the job, but they have to make split-second decisions, and sometimes you can't call for that, or you can't call for your field officer, or you can't call that. The beauty of it is, it's already written out as like, look, for most of every situation you're gonna run into, you should be able to just be able to follow the script, right? I think it's absolutely imperative and such a huge risk, you know, cutting off by having that, because when people follow that, you know, you have to go trained on. And two, is added security and safety to the officers and people out there. So you don't have somebody that's out there navigating, right? So I would say, I would not have the patience, time, and mentality, fortitude to put together the policies that these guys have done, and a lot of them, they have come from scratch. I have seen the old ones, and they were basically, put it in a bag, put it in an evidence locker. And even then, we didn't have something, right? These guys have gone through, and they have done that, and it is a truly amazing, like, if you want to get a glimpse of this, when you go home tonight, try to write yourself a memo on how to tie your shoe, step by step, and see how long it takes you to tie a freaking shoe by wrapping it down.
I wear slip-ons.
Step one, throw away laces.
Yeah.
Slip-on shoes.
Yeah, yeah.
But really, like that, when they're talking about detail, that's kind of what we're talking about in this situation. So it's very, it's refreshing, but it's also, ooh, I could feel.
So we have, and like he says, we have everything, search and seizure, which is obviously the backbone Fourth Amendment. That's very important. Domestic violence, active shooters, patrol canine. I mean, it covers pretty much everything. We do have things that that come up that we all scratch our head and go, I don't call Jake. I don't know. I mean, we do have those things. But so it can't encompass every single situation, but it covers pretty much the overview of all of them. And these policies, the officers are held accountable. We do have a code of conduct policy as well that's very strict. So.
If you want, again, pop them up one more time. Again, gives you a glimpse into the mindset of some of the police officers when they're going to job with the chief, lieutenant, or even just the regular patrolman. Read their active shooter policy, read their school shooting policies. It'll give you a kind of gut wrench and the realization, like these guys, when they go out there and they gotta respond to these things, you go through the whole policy, and it gives you an area of what happens, if you die, for this next person, when you do this, and you will do that, and you find this, it gives you a real, like I said, gets you in the mindset of what these officers have to go through when they have to respond to these things. But I really would encourage you guys specifically sitting up there, read through their active shooter one, and read through the school shooter one. Read that policy. It'll give you a lot more appreciation for what these guys are doing.
And the analysis that Jason made, we will make that available to the public. The policies, once we're finished, I'm glad I have 2 years to think about it, to be able to put that online. I'm bouncing back and forth with that. But the analysis we will definitely make available online. And there's another one, is that the only?
Pursuit, but we didn't have any pursuits. We haven't had any pursuits in 2 years.
Yeah. So once, it's pretty much finalized now, but we'll get that to Josh and he'll be able to put it on our webpage. So.
as far as the use of force analysis report.
Yes.
Right.
And that one I did read through, and it was very well done.
Thank you.
To jump on, that was very well done.
Thank you.
And like Jake mentioned, I just want to make clear to the public, it wasn't like there wasn't police department procedures before. This just takes it to a much more detailed version and much more explicit version. Not understood or, certain parts of it. It is really trying to detail out and make it very explicit what is the procedures in all these different areas. And the standards manuals itself is, when I brought it up, was 180 pages, PDF. But the number of pages that, the chief and the assistant chief had done, we probably exceeded that by quite a bit, as far as trying to write out all the different policies that's required by the standards manual. And that's when the chief is stating this is just the start. It's going to take a little while to complete everything regarding it. But, and it's not saying to the public that there weren't policies before. It's just being much more exact, much more explicit, much more detailed on each and every policy, and then some that have not been covered. They may have been covered in academy, they may have been covered in field training, but they're not explicitly written down. And that's the step that this is requiring our department to do.
Yes, and we did have, and I'm glad you said that, we did have policies before. This just took it
2.0.
Yeah, way up higher. Some policies we were missing, but yes, we did have policies before. So I didn't mean to sound like that we were cracking the other administration. We were not doing.
There's also, with this, we have to show proof that we are following those standards. And if you want to explain to me about the proofs.
Yeah, so once we get one, let's say we get one standard done, within that standard, not only do we have to prove in the policy that we made a policy for it, we also have to provide a proof. So an example would be I was going to say the evidence locker to show it's a secure area. We have to take a picture of that, and then we have to put this all in Adobe and make the policy and that basically showing that this is locked. And it takes a lock and key, and only authorized personnel take a picture of that that are allowed inside of this. That's just an example. Otherwise, it's paperwork as far as it may be pictures, it may be paperwork that we have to have proofs, what they call proofs, to prove the standard. And then they can actually go back and look when they come and do the accreditation to make sure that is correct, or pull files or whatever they need to do.
So like what I mentioned is our oath of office when we take the day we're hired. You have to, for every officer that you have to, that's a proof. You have to put one for each officer. So the one they signed with Mary, I think you had to go back in with Crystal and get some, some of them. But so for every officer we have on our department, we have that oath of office, be able to put that in that one policy or standard. So it's going to be quite the book.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you guys taking the time to put all the work into this, just to help better the department and the community as a whole. So thank you for that.
Yep.
Absolutely. Do y'all have any questions or anything that?
I don't think so. I think I would like to get a copy of the policies that Jake was talking about regarding the active shooter and the school shooting sent to us, just so we can, have a chance to
I would too.
read them over. So,
I'll second that.
yeah.
So we need to speak with Jake about that because that's not public. We can't send them through email.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, we'll figure it out. But yeah,
Okay.
we'd like to take a look
I mean,
at it.
yeah, if we want to bring one to the commission, you guys can pass through and look at it.
Or we can come out and visit you if you need.
There you go.
Whatever
Yep.
we need.
There you go, that would be even better. Some policies you can give out, some you can't. Some show tactics that you can't give out.
Fair enough. Understand.
Thank you guys
Alright.
for recognizing that. It needs to be done, and you're setting good standards and eliminating key person exposure. So, though we don't ever wish that.
We don't either.
All right, anything else? All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next thing is Building a Stronger Economy 2.0 grant application. Kent.
The state of Kansas has opened up a second round for the base grant application process. The first round was at the beginning of last year, remember? We did submit an application. We were not awarded the grant. We had looked at two different areas, one regarding the industrial park and one regarding a residential housing area. They will have, they had 100 million to distribute in the first round. They have 50 million in the second round, so it's a reduced amount. One of the things that we are looking at doing is to reduce the size of the application. Also, Andrew Bruner provided revised cost estimates, and that was included in your packet. Obviously, the cost estimates have increased since last year. That was also a reason to reduce as far as the application. But, and I haven't made contact with the property owner. I wanted to review it with the property owner as well regarding the house addition. We just have traded voicemails at this point. But want to review it with him, just looking for basically the one street addition instead of that entire platted area that we had last time. It does require the sewer to get to the north side of that one block, but to reduce it, and that significantly reduces the, obviously, the cost estimates to put in the application. And then as far as the industrial park, instead of trying to finish out the industrial park, which hasn't been completed in the last, obviously, since it was formed in the early 90s. But just looking at completing the utilities in the street for the south, basically the lots adjacent to the railroad, which would probably have the most interest. In fact, there is interest, and if we can, that's the one other thing, if they can state it publicly, the entities that are involved might include something from them as well as the possibility. Regarding the lots along the railroad, and obviously the other side of the street, the south side of the street, they would be served by utilities as well. But it wouldn't finish out the entire industrial park, but that obviously reduces the cost estimate and hopefully make it more appealing to the grant application. We've also had the grant application or the initial draft of some of the information reviewed by the contracted grant writer with that Sherman County Community Development is using to get their input regarding the grant application. But just looking for consensus from the commission to go ahead and submit the applications and see what we find. Again, there will be hundreds of applications across Kansas, so the likelihood, obviously, is hard to see, but
Doesn't hurt to put her name in the hat.
if you don't submit, you
Don't have a chance.
you get an automatic no. So
So are we looking, both projects would be under one submission, correct? Or is it two different submissions?
it would be two different submissions. And there is a 25% local match. Don't have that automatically covered. We'd obviously have to discuss it once they would be submitted. We'd be able to use the remainder of the ARPA funds for the utilities part of it, but we'd actually have, some additional discussions regarding it. if it would come about, but, obviously in both cases, to get 75% paid by a grant would be a significant
Yep.
bonus
Yeah.
to the community, so.
That's 75%. I don't have to worry about.
Because there's 50 million available this time around, right?
Yes, sir.
So I'm just looking at, now trying to figure out the totals of everything. So we're basically looking, I mean, a couple million plus is what we would be hoping to get from the grant. And I feel like that's a pretty large chunk of what their available money is. Do you remember how many they awarded last time? I know.
No,
Pitch
I
on
don't.
the spot. I don't. I just now thought it crossed my mind. I didn't think of that earlier. I wonder, and I kind of wondered this last time too, if we wouldn't be better applying for one or the other, so it didn't look like we were trying to be quite so greedy to get a bigger piece of the pie,
Sure.
or if we should go ahead and do both and hope maybe if they would prefer one or the other, they would still go ahead and grant one and not the other one. I'm not real sure what the mindset, that they're going to be in looking at stuff, how that's going to be. But part of me feels like we might have a better chance if we had a little smaller project of getting part of the grant money. But which between the two, if I had to pick one, I would probably pick the industrial park one, just because we do have, and especially, we've learned a lot in the last year or so regarding housing and stuff in town, and how much land and available space there is currently to infill in town that I don't think we realized before. At the same time, a nice addition to the town is also very nice, to have, and that would be great to have as well. I just think if I were to choose one or the other, I think just the industrial park, one, just to have that available, to be able to bring larger businesses into town that can provide more jobs. I think that would be the better opportunity, potentially, if we were to go that way. But like I said, we can go for both.
We need people to occupy homes first.
Yeah, you just don't know if they're gonna choose a commercial or a residential.
Yeah.
Which way are they going?
Or if it would make, I don't know if it would make a difference if we just did one and not two, if that would really matter or not.
The one hard thing, I think, with the application for the residential is we need a partner
Mm-hmm.
that's involved in that arena.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a property owner that's willing to be involved, but a partner that's involved in that arena that's not really part of the equation with the current application.
We don't have a developer
Right.
of the property.
Or a builder that would be willing to move forward. It could come about fairly quickly, but it would be hard to show it on the application. Just like the police standards, be able to demonstrate it, step by step. So.
I don't know. I think I would almost rather just move forward with the one personally, but I don't know what you guys think.
There's a potential that we've already got somebody possibly even looking at it, so.
So it seems.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
No, I think that's smart.
I would say go with the industrial.
I've got mixed feelings for both, so.
Yeah.
We need both, but yeah, if they're looking at both. Industrial.
So you're thinking you'd rather, you want to do both or just?
It's just, yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, I know. Just,
Do we know what size of grants they supplied money to? Any of the last one that they put out?
I can get the list. They did have, you know, a few projects that were multi-million-dollar projects. Because it does take, you know, obviously,
Yeah,
get something done. Sometimes it takes significant resources.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Then they also had twice as much money available.
They had twice as much money, and they were also looking at, you know, and they do try to have a number of communities involved, and they did last time, you know. Where it is situated around the state, it's really, they want to see bang for their grant money
Right.
as well, and know that things are going to happen because of it. So, and they will end up with, last time there was several hundred applications, you know, it wasn't just a few, and that's why the announcement was delayed from, they said they would have the announcement by the beginning of March, and they waited till the beginning of April, just because of the number of applications.
Mm-hmm.
Expect the same type of situation, with less money, but they've also put a limitation on this, that anybody who received an award in the first round is not going to be eligible for the second round.
All right, already got those guys out.
So basically, you need a consensus from us in some sort of direction here.
Yeah, or that would be better.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess I would recommend doing the industrial park. That's my vote.
I agree that I would like to move. I would prefer to see us just move forward with one project instead of two. And I would prefer it to be the industrial park, I think.
Agreed, the industrial park.
I'd like to see both, but that's fine.
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to see both too. I just don't know if it would improve our chances to just do one instead of two. And maybe I'm shooting us in the foot. I don't know. You never know what they're looking for when it comes to grants, or how they're processing things, or
Yeah, I don't know. Do you have insight into that? Does it matter the amount of grants? I mean, that's being pretty. I don't even know if it's even a fair question to ask
No,
you.
and I know that there was a couple small housing that was granted last time. If staff comes up, or Sherman County Community Development comes up with additional information, because we're still, you know, the housing, because we've identified it as a very important issue in this community. Trying to get that to move, we are trying to make additional contacts and trying to get something to occur there. If there's additional information that comes up before the grant deadline in a couple weeks that would make it more attractive or make a difference, we might come back to you and say, we'd like to go ahead with the second, you know,
We have
and let you know.
31st.
Until the 31st, which is, you know, they announce it January 3rd, and then they say the deadline's January 31st. So. And they did say that all the previous applications that were not funded are automatically entered going forward. So I guess I didn't say that beforehand. So there is some consideration there, but I just don't see it being, it's only revising it. And I see the revising of both of these being critical to being successful. So it'll still be there. I just, amongst several hundred applications, I just, you know, find it difficult.
Okay, so the consensus is to move forward with the industrial park project in lieu of additional information that may come up that we need to revisit by the end of the month,
Yes, sir.
I believe. Yep.
Agreed.
Okay, let's move on to C, the Terry Langenhart Cemetery Board reappointment. Have anything you want to say to that, or?
No, he's been well-standing member in good standing, I guess would be saying it. And he wants to renew his application, and the rest of the cemetery board is just fine with his application.
Cool.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve his reappointment to the cemetery board.
I'll second.
Have a second by Commissioner Redlin. Any other further discussion? Roll, please.
Showalter, Myers,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Redlin,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes. Okay, and then D, we have Joy Hayden, the library board application.
They had an opening on the library board, and this is the person that had submitted an application. I have not heard anything to the contrary.
Yeah. And I know Joy's been a resident here forever and been involved in many things throughout her life. And I think she'd be a great appointment to add to that. So.
I move that we approve the library board application for Joy Hayden.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Redlin and a second by Commissioner Howard. Any other further discussion? Roll, please.
Howard,
Yes.
Redlin,
Yes.
Showalter, Myers,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes. Okay, we'll move on to reports, starting with our city manager, Kent.
Just included the manager memo with the agenda packet, and you also received the month-end fund balance report and the police monthly activity report. We also are finishing up RFPs for that sewer main that Neil brought forward at the last meeting. Hopefully we'll have that completed and posted by the end of the week, and then it'll be a month and a half before it comes to the commission. But
Okay.
we'll have that, and also a water tower maintenance contract on 3 of the 4 water towers we'll have on that, because we're still working with the one company for the memory park maintenance of that standpipe. So we'll have that out as well. Also included at least the website location and the connecting links. We had a report over the last couple weeks regarding the First Impressions report, where we partner with another community. They have several people that come and do a day trip to Goodland and report what they've seen on several different categories within Goodland. And then several members of Goodland visited Ulysses and did the same thing for their community. And it's a very interesting report, and it is posted now on the Kansas State Extension and Research website, and it has several interesting things regarding Goodland. So
Yeah.
just wanted to point that out, and then again, we may it's posted on the Kansas State website, but we might put a little posting so that people can go ahead and view it as well.
Yeah.
They did provide them a correction. They did have in the original report that they had gotten from the census reporter a different census of Goodland than what our actual census was, or from the Census Bureau. They said we had dropped down below 4,000 people. And I pointed out a couple pieces of data for them, and they're going to be correcting that. So the video report is not posted at this time, and they're making the correction to the PowerPoint presentation. So, because our population is over 4,400.
Yeah, I was actually looking at that earlier today, and I think it did have it corrected to what it's supposed to be
Oh,
on
did it?
there on the
Okay.
PowerPoint section. So, yeah, it was a very. I kind of did a quick
Scan.
run through today just to kind of check it out, and it does look like it's very interesting. It sounds like there's a lot of positive things that people had to say in there. So,
They did have a lot of positive things, and I mean that's the point as well, is trying to be positive about the community view and not too many things. But they point out some things regarding our community too. So And the point is that people with fresh eyes, what their view of it.
Mhm.
So it is interesting. And I also want to make a mention that according to the solid waste contract, we do have a section regarding fuel adjustment that regarding the diesel fuel, and the diesel fuel for the last 6 months has been such that the billing for us increases, and then it automatically goes on the bills, will go up for 50 cents for the next 6 months. So obviously diesel's it's based on a figure of 350 as a base, but obviously diesel's been in the 4s and the 5s for most of the last 6 months. So the 50-cent increase will be on people's bills, starting with this next one, and it'll be for the next 6 months until the next calculation. It's done twice a year. So
Great.
yes, full of happy news for utility customers. Sorry about that. But
Necessary evils, we
that's the way it
apologize.
happens. And that's all I have at this point.
Okay. Anybody have any questions or comments for our city manager? Thank you, Kim. We'll move on to commissioner reports. We'll start here with my right with Commissioner Myers.
All I want to say is stay safe tomorrow and stay warm. If we get it, which I think we will.
Commissioner Howard,
Nothing at this time.
Commissioner Redlin,
I guess I just have a question for Kent. Probably should have done this before, but anyways, the housing committee. Can we get a meeting kind of put together so we can
Sure.
see where we're at? Beginning of the year, see if there's anything that we need to do.
Sure.
Thank you. That's all.
okay. For the mayor's report, I have nothing more to add. And with that, I'm going to make a motion under the authority of KSA 754319B1 for personnel matters for non-elected personnel to move into executive session. I would like the present commissioners and our city manager Kent for a period of 29 minutes and 17 seconds. I have a motion on the floor.
Second.
How about 30 minutes? We'll do 30 minutes for a period of 30 minutes. Motion on the floor, second by Commissioner Redlin. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The time is 6:08. Thank you.
They losing?
You know, highlights go faster.
Okay, we are back. We're going to make another motion to move under executive session under the authority of KSA 75-4319B1 for personnel matters for non-elected personnel. I would like the commissioners and the city manager for a period of 10 minutes.
I'll
Motion
second.
on the floor, a second by Commissioner Redlin. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It is 6:38 p.m. Aye.
Myers, Showalter, Howard, Redland, Thompson.